Hello, City Skylines fans. I'm Sockswayup, and welcome back to Newman Shore, a City Skylines Let's Play series with the airport DLC and a little bit of mods, just a couple mods that we've added in there. Last episode, this area that you're looking at right now is what we worked on. We added a new downtown area. Today, we're going to dive into a little bit of changes that we're going to make into the city. So going back to episode 1, we started this series as a very vanilla series because of all the mods being broken when we started it. The new DLC just came out and we weren't able to play with mods, so that's why we've added a few mods over time. I've kind of somewhat regretted that. We're going to stay vanilla. I removed all the assets from my game. All the buildings that use custom assets when they were populated will have to be, regrown. We're gonna hit play here. We're gonna see how many people we lose, and it's gonna take a while for the game to rebalance out, and then it has to recreate all those buildings. So while that's happening, I decided to work on some of the transit. The trains I wasn't happy with, the train tracks, and I wasn't happy with a few of the freeway exits and on-ramps. And so we're gonna go and dive into that and try to improve that a little bit in this episode. Hope you enjoy it. So full disclosure, after watching back the episode after it was edited, released, uploaded, ready to go live, I hated it. There wasn't enough good content. The episode sucked. There was nothing going on. Here are the highlights. We removed the train track from the front of the city. That skyline was being ruined by it. I was debating it the entire time. We added it back here near the cargo terminal or the cargo airport. I think it looks a lot better there. It feels a lot natural. The transition looks good. Then there was this hideous on and off ramp that I never showed on camera. We went ahead and tried to fix that a little bit. In reality, I suck at making on and off ramps without mods. So we do the best that we can. We detail it, we hide some of the flaws with some trees, and that pretty much summed up the entire episode. You can see the buildings did. So where does that leave us today? In today's episode, we're gonna make some custom assets. We're playing a vanilla series, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, and why I really left that in there is we killed all the assets. We deleted everything from our asset store, added back in the mods that we are using in this series, but we don't have the custom assets anymore. I did add back the parking lots, because I love those assets and I need them. I just need them. We're gonna make some custom parks. It's gonna be my first time trying it, first time doing this in City Skylines. I wanted to make the parks use the same themes that we're using throughout the rest of the city with the trees and bushes and shrubs. So we're gonna give that a shot and see if it spruces up the city a little bit more. Before we completely jump into the asset editor, I wanted to kind of take a look at some of these parks and see the size of them. This one, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks like 7 by 9. So we definitely want to look at something like that. But then also, if we scroll on over here, this is a pretty good size to recreate as well. We got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a 5 by 4. So a 7 by 9 and a 5 by 4. And then this one's a 5 by 4 as well. That should be a good start. Let's get started with that. So it's time to jump into the editor. We get that loaded up, and asset importer, we click on park. So we're gonna hit continue here. And then we're gonna be able to set the size of the park we want. Again, this is my first time diving into this, so all of these tools are new to me. I know there's a ton of people out there that use this and make the custom assets, the custom parks. Much respect to them after playing around with this tool. It is really good, and I could see some of the mods that were unlocked in the game are tools in the editor and then in the map editor as well. So it's pretty sweet to see these things and see how people kind of came to the conclusion that it's possible to create these mods with tools that are already built into the game that are just hidden in some of these asset editors and the map editor. So the idea I was going with this first park was to create options to add paths later on. So you lay the park down, then you can have your paths that wind through the neighborhoods connect to the parks, and they're seamless that way. It's just like a trail that was created in the neighborhood that just leads to this park area for the kids to play at. That's what we're going with. Seems very realistic to real life to me. Also, the existing parks in the game function this way, so it's kind of mimicking that, but then using the new content creator trees, these cottonwood trees that I've been falling in love with, using those to detail up the area and make it look a little bit more to date with City Skylines than the original parks are. So that's looking pretty good. I think we might have overdone the trees a little bit. Let's get rid of one, maybe two of them. Yeah, we'll get rid of 3. We're gonna add in the beautiful purple tree that I constantly forget the name of. We're gonna add that in here as well. This is the color scheme or the palette that we've gone with on a ton of this city. So of course we're gonna make these parks match as well. And this first park I was going with was a kids playground mixed in with a little bit of leisure or escapes for the parents. You know, we give them some benches, we're gonna give some gazebos. We're also gonna mix in a little bit of food in here as well. There's some food truck assets that come with the game that we utilize here to make a nice little diverse park. And of course, we gotta add some garbage in here. They gotta throw away trash somewhere, so we do that as well as once we find the trash cans. But then also some of the things that we're gonna add into this area are flowers and again, a lot of swing sets, the jungle gym, the playground and everything. When it's all said and done, it's pretty similar to the existing parks in the game, just with the updated content creator trees. That's what I was going for. Like I said earlier, I think it makes it way more current and looks a lot better than the 7-year-old parks that came with the game. Jumping a little forward into the build, we're starting to use the hang around markers. We're using the large one here to set the area where the kids are going to play in the playgrounds. Really cool feature of the game to be able to control where people are in your parks, where they're going to hang out, where they're going to socialize with other people that came to the park as well. Pretty cool. I didn't really know it was part of the feature set here, and discovering some of the things in the asset editor is pretty fun. Again, I haven't touched this in the 3+ years I've been playing this game, maybe longer. I've lost track at this point. But it's pretty sweet, and instead of relying on other people creating assets for you, if you have a limited computer and you know, limited resources that you can run on it, and you're worried about downloading assets, or if you're on console, you should be able to create these things on your own and not have to use things from the workshop. And that's why we're featuring this today on our channel, to kind of show the things that you can do with Cities Skylines without having to have mods installed and custom assets. Now that we got the park to the state that we want it in, it's time to save it, get it in the game, see if it works. Kind of just looking around, making sure I was satisfied with it, and I think this is good for a first attempt. So let's figure out the next steps to getting this into the game. So we'll take some pictures first, use the snapshot tool, or get a good angle here. I'm not really too worried about this, but I was just learning the ropes. And here's a little thumbnail tool. I like how it blacks out the entire background. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, so we're gonna take a screenshot of that. Yeah, that's a good angle there. And then we'll come into this last tool, which gives us kind of like a landscape view of it almost. It's called the info shot tool. Okay, so we'll do that one. And then we should come over here, just kind of click on save assets, give it a name. There's a tooltip image as well as a thumbnail icon. We'll call this Sock Park. What was the size of it? Drawing a blank, drawing a blank. Cancel that out. Go back into the settings. 9x7. So our width is 9, length is 7. We'll go in here, Sock Park. 9x7. And that should tell us which one it is once we go into the game, so we know which one it is, since we're going to create multiple ones in this episode. So we get that. There's our option to save that, to go over to this for the thumbnail icon. And then before we save it, let's also change the asset name to match the name of the file. That'll do, and we'll hit save. Sweet. So before we load in Newman Shore, I decided to make another park. This one is a straight up food truck park. After seeing that those assets were available for me to use, I decided to make a park dedicated to it. And then I started playing around with these tiles. We're using the park life tiles to add a little bit more detail or more depth to the ground instead of just using straight up concrete. One thing I would recommend as I was going through this process is, if you decide to do this with one of your parks, do it before you lay down any assets, any of the markers. It was a lot harder to line these up and really see and focus on getting them straight and getting them perfect to make the tile aspect of it actually work. As you see here, we have a little bit of a gap there, but when we're this close, we'll see it. When we zoom out, we don't really notice it. And some final touches to this one, we add in some of these rails to kind of separate and keep the line in order for when people are there. Nice little touch. That light post is probably in the wrong spot though, now that I watch this in the edit mode. We can update that later, but I think that's pretty sweet. It's a cool little area, nice little hangout area for people in the neighborhoods to kind of wander. Maybe it's a Friday night. They're gonna go down to the park, get some food, and then head on over to some of the other attractions in the neighborhoods that we add. So just like we did with the other one, let's find a good little screenshot to do for this. I'm gonna do a top-down view on this one. Same thing with the thumbnail. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's go top-down. Now it's time to see what it looks like in the game. So we've put it down in this spot where we were, deciding the size of the 4x5, and it looks great. I'm gonna add some paths in the back here, some more access from the other side of the neighborhood, not just this main road that we added it on, and then add a little bit of trees to kind of finalize the area and see how it turns out. It's definitely the look I was going for. I'm thrilled with the way this turned out. Got to hit play here in a second and see what happens. There we go. Everyone's leaving. Why are they leaving? They're abandoning it. I think it's because the park just changed. And the house next door left too. Oh, man. One of the other areas that we wanted to test out, or the other parks that I wanted to test out, was putting one close to this dog park. Eventually, I might create another dog park to have the updated trees as well. But here's a park that I created off camera. I didn't really show this one. It's kind of similar to the other ones, but it has the dirt paths instead of the paved ones that we used in the one that we featured in the video. So this one's a good example of the way these paths do work. The vanilla game, the parks work this way as well. But the reason why I designed it is because we can extend these paths and give people access to it. And you can also notice already on those top ones, people are coming in, they're walking through the park, they're utilizing those paths to get where they need to go. They can stop at the park if they want to, or they can just, stroll on by, stroll, not scroll. Scroll's what you do on a computer. Stroll is what you do while you're walking. But yeah, so that was the idea. Again, you can see already by adding this custom park, we're starting to notice that the original vanilla parks are looking even, they stand out more in an ugly way, in my opinion. Some of those original trees, just the assets weren't the best, and these content creator assets are way better. So you can see the temptation to keep going and keep updating those parks to be more up to date, more current. Kind of the theme of this episode is making these parks, seem a lot more current than they are in existing vanilla City Skylines. So let's see how we're doing over here. What's going on with our park now that the game's been playing a little bit? We do have some people hanging out, so the hangout markers are definitely working. What is this guy doing down here? We got another couple showing up. I love how they actually use the benches too. You can see she's gonna go sit down there. They actually interact with the props. Oh, he's skateboarding. Pretty sweet. I didn't know they do that in this game. But yeah, it's really cool to see them interact with the props, and those markers, those hangout markers actually work really nice, and you get people into your assets and it becomes alive. And some of the parks I was gonna replace were here, but the terrain, the angle of it, when you lay down the park, it looks hideous. I gotta figure that out a little bit. Probably have to think about terrain a little bit more when we're laying down parks. Yeah, so this might be an area where we can sneak one in. Let's see, once we get past all our parking lot roads. So I definitely need some more variations, because the only one that fits in this area is also the food truck one, and I don't really think we want to leave those in multiple areas. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. We'll go ahead and get rid of it for now. There's another one that I did want to feature. I wanted to come on over to this area here by the cemetery and just try out this other park and show it before we end the episode. That's the wrong one. Here we go. We're going to put this larger one down. I wasn't really sure. I love the way it looked while we're editing it and creating it, but the way these paths blend in with this neighborhood, I'm probably going to go back in and turn those into either concrete or the dirt paths and call it a day. I think the dirt paths will probably be the route to go for this park. But overall, this was a fun episode to make. It was a little different than the other episodes I've made in this Let's Play series. It's kind of showing some features of the game that have been around forever, but I haven't used. I know a ton of people out there do use it because they make the custom assets, but if your game can't handle it, or you just aren't able to, or are afraid to, maybe you just don't want to, or you're on console, there's some other options you can do to customize the game. That's what I wanted to feature in this episode, and I think we proved that you can do it and make some cool things without having to, kill your computer. And there's a huge fire up there. I'm Sockswayup, and I'll catch you on the next episode of Newman Shore.